Playing with your dirty plums. Dirty plums. Making money in this Pee-wee economy is a matter of picking a path and following it. We've got Heist, we have Strongbox mapping, we have Delve, Fragment farming, Essence farming, Crafting. Way too many to list. Then there's my personal favorite, Boss farming. But which boss do we farm? I played around with this league's bosses, their Uber versions, and their drops. Before we get to my pick, I wanted to say that there's some solid runners-up in this Uber category. Uber Cortex, a lot of fun, because who knows what the hell's gonna drop? 3 rares with 3 uncommon synthesis implicits? Hell yeah. But is it profitable? It could be. But you're gonna need a good amount of luck, because the cost of the map to run throughout all of this league, 3.18, so far hasn't correlated well at all to the value of its big ticket item, Bottled Faith. Right now, this late in the league, the map is about 2 exalts and the flask is under 3. Considering the drop rate for Bottled Faith, which is pretty low, this is terrible. Now, earlier in the league, the map was about 1x, which was still terrible unless you were doing feared rotation farming. But that's besides the point. The point is, this is a pretty expensive slot machine to hit. Another solid contender is Uber Elder, or Super Elder. What are we calling this? Upgraded Uber Elder gives you doubled odds of getting an Orb of Dominance, which is fairly high value. If you're farming Uber Elder, you're also going to have the increased chance of getting the Jewel, and early in the league, the rings are also pretty high value compared to the price of the run. So if you can beat this boss, definitely run it. Uber Elder farming by itself is usually pretty profitable, and the increased chance of an Orb of Dominance is a good bonus for this fight. Now, Uber Sirus looks to be a straight-up waste of time. If you're looking for Awakened Gems and can beat Uber Sirus, you might as well just beat Uber Maven for the chance at Awakened Enlighten, Empower, or Enhance. Not only that, it's straight up easier to buy one invite for the Maven's Writ, instead of searching out a bunch of people to get each fragment, or overpaying for sets for Sirus. The nature of Sirus's fight is also super annoying, with the red on black on red super degen ground. And chaos damage flying around everywhere. It's just not enjoyable. Uber Sirus, 0 out of 10. Don't bother. Uber Exarch is a straight up waste of time as well, because the Uber Eater exists, and Uber Eater has multiple value drops instead of just crystallized omniscience. And that brings us to the boss that I pick that has it all. And as a quick aside, if you can do Uber Eater all juiced up like you would the normal Eater fight, go ahead and do that. The 25% chance to drop an additional Ichor, which also has a chance to then be duplicated, is a fairly valuable reward. But that's only if you can deal with the Uber Eater and his increased health pool and his new attacks. For those of us who aren't running 100x plus builds, the most consistently profitable boss I've ever farmed is regular Eater. Now let's start with the downsides of the boss. It's a bit tricky to farm at the very start of the league without getting a solid drop, as in getting Melding of the Flesh right away, getting a decent Forbidden Flesh, or of course getting an Ashes of the Stars. As with any boss farming strategy, if you go with a little bit of an unlucky streak at the start, you're going to straight up lose money. So you need to be able to deal with this. Additionally, on this fight, if you're fighting Eater within the first 3 days of the league start, you're probably going to want to wait if you actually do get an Ashes of the Stars drop, because it's going to go up in value for the first week. So it's sort of a downside in that if you run one Eater fight and you get an Ashes of the Stars on day 2 or 3, you could sell it to run more Eater invites, but waiting a few days is going to be immensely profitable. So now you have a situation where you have this incredibly valuable item that's only going to gain in value in the very short term that you can't use in order to get more runs. This is only sort of a downside, right? Because I'm saying if you just wait a couple days, you'll make 15, 20x more. That's not really a downside for most people, but if you're looking to farm the Eater in quick succession over and over right at the start, then yes, it is a bit of a downside. But to be fair to the Eater, these are typical downsides that come with farming bosses, so it's nothing unique to the Eater itself. Now, far more importantly, let's talk about the upsides. Mechanically, the boss isn't terribly challenging. phase him, stand in the plums, kill him, or if you're like me, phase him and let him kill you so that you get your bottled faith charges back and go back in and kill him. Oh, and try not to get slammed by the mega tentacles. Turns out this attack hits pretty hard. More upsides, the setup. The only Atlas passives that you're going to want to have are the generic item quantity wheel in the middle, which you should have always, all the time, for everything, Regurgitated Relics, Martial Forces, and, if you can handle it, which if you're going to chain farm the Eater, you should have a build that can, Height of Hubris. Now let's talk about the drops. And this is really important. This is why the Eater is so much better than the Exarch, and why, unless something drastically changes, I will never farm the Exarch. Now, when the Eater dies or the Exarch dies, the game rolls to drop Eldritch currency. The Eldritch Chaos, Exalt, Annulment, and Ichor if it's the Eater, or Ember if it's the Exarch. Now, so long as you have Regurgitated Relics, which of course you do if you're farming the Eater, the game will then roll to see if it duplicates any of those drops, any of the Eldritch currency drops. Then it'll choose one of the 4 uniques. For the Eater, we have the Boots, which are useless, the Bow, which is useless, Melding of the Flesh, which is very good, and Ashes of the Stars, which is very good. And when I say very good, I mean very valuable. The primary reason that the Eater is so much better than the Exarch is that the jewel that the Eater drops, the Melding of the Flesh, as opposed to Dissolution of the Flesh from the Exarch. For Dissolution of the Flesh, you're getting maybe 15 Chaos during the League. Melding of the Flesh, you're getting upwards of 7 Exalts. Now both the Exarch and the Eater have 4 possible drops when you kill them for their uniques. But the primary difference is that the Exarch has Dissolution of the Flesh, Annihilating Light, the stupid Colossal Tower Shield, Dawnbreaker, and Crystallize Omniscience. Only 1 of 4 of these drops is worth anything. However, with the Eater, we have 2 useless drops in the Bow and Boots, and 2 high-value drops in Melding of the Flesh and Ashes of the Stars. Additionally, the Eater's Eldritch Ichor currency is worth anywhere from 80 to 100% more than the Exarch currency that drops from the Exarch. So long as the prices stay like this, and Melding of the Flesh is worth something and Dissolution is not, there is simply no reason, ever, to run Exarch. It's also worth noting that even though Crystallize Omniscience and Ashes of the Stars will probably converge to near the same price during the early part of the League, Crystallize Omniscience falls in value far quicker than Ashes of the Stars. Now, in addition to this, you have 20% chance to drop a Conqueror map, which is going to be worth around 30 Chaos, thanks to our Martial Forces notable. And of course, you have a random chance of getting the Forbidden Flesh, which could be worth 20x, could be worth 10 Chaos. I don't really factor those into the consistency value for which boss is better farming. Now, a quick note on selling. Zooming out 50,000 feet and looking at running boss farming, if you're going to do this in large quantities, if you can afford to, it's worthwhile stocking up on the Eldritch currencies and Conqueror maps so you can sell them at a bulk rate as opposed to individual. Typically speaking, in Path of Exile, if you can amass a bunch of currency that people want, you can charge more for it, because it's easier to go to one person and buy 40 of something than it is to track down 40 individual people. And people have no problem paying a small premium in order to save that time. Now for the moment some of you out there have been waiting to see a complete breakdown Excel sheet, Google shared document of all of my profits and runs. I don't actually have one. Sorry about that. But I do have a sheet now that I can use to track my runs, to track my profits during my runs. Because at this point, when I stream, I'm doing about 150 to 225 runs at a time. Thanks to my brother, I now have an Excel sheet that can help me track this in real time while playing and not taking a ton of time out of my runs to input what drops. And now that I'm running around 200 at a time, at minimum, this is a huge deal, and I will be tracking profits and sharing that information. Just because this video is out doesn't mean I'm done farming the Eater. We've got hundreds and hundreds left to do. But that said, I can tell you this. It works. It works to farm the Eater. And only the Eater. That is all I've done for the past month. And if I'd made over 500 Exalts and thousands of Chaos of profit in under, say, 100 Eater runs, we could chalk that up to luck. But at this point, I'm closing in on around 600 to 700 runs of Eater. And my net worth as of this video, including sets of Conqueror maps that I haven't sold yet, is somewhere in the realm of 580, 590 exalts and around 10,000 chaos. This strategy is not luck. It requires a little bit to get going, but once you do get going, once you get a decent drop, a Melding of the Flesh, which should buy you somewhere around 7 runs, or an Ashes of the Stars, which is your big ticket item, which is going to net you somewhere around 45, 50 runs early in the league. Once you get that, once you get starting, this machine just keeps on rolling. Now, to be fair, this is a boss farming strategy, and as such, you have a decent upfront cost, and you can go on a losing streak. My worst losing streak was just north of 200 runs in a row without getting an Ashes of the Stars. Now, keep in mind, all of these other drops, Forbidden Flesh, Melding of the Flesh, Conqueror maps, Eldritch currency, all of these things serve to offset those upfront costs of the Eater invites and then rolling them to a quantity that you want. So it's not a straight loss if you don't get an Ashes of the Stars. The point I'm trying to make is that for the upfront start cost, you may need maybe 5x, maybe 10x in order to get this ball rolling, to give yourself a chance to get lucky. But once you hit it, you're good to go. That 200 run streak without getting an Ashes, very, very unusual. Prior to that, my longest losing streak was around 64 runs before getting an Ashes, as I used to run in sets of 20. And finally, for this league, I typically bought my invitations at 1.1 exalted or less. There were times when I would pay 1.2 for bulk pricing, but that was after I'd already done pretty well and had plenty of currency lying around. Be sure to check in the info for this video for live alert links for getting Screaming invitations. And that's it. That's the end of the video. That's what I wanted to talk to you guys about. If you found something else that's been super consistently profitable, let me know in the comments. Come onto my Discord, let me know there. However you want to do it. I'm curious to know what you've had a lot of success with this league, because this one has been far and away the most consistent and, for me, enjoyable experience of farming in Path of Exile in a long time. If you made it to this point in the video, hit like, hit subscribe. That helps me out a lot to make more videos. And I know it's been a little bit since my last one, but I promise there are more coming out very soon. Check out my socials, stop by the stream, hang out during our next set of 200, maybe we'll go 300, I don't know. Whatever number of runs are next up for the next stream, come on by, hang out, and watch me put my money where my mouth is. As that's it for now, this is Eli, signing off.